Hi, I'm here with Chang, and I've got a few questions for you, right?
Okay.
So, first of all, for people who don't know you,
Right.
which is hardly, I think everybody knows you, but
I hope so.
who are you and what are you doing?
So I'm a developer advocate for Google Cloud Platform, and I focus a lot on the Java developers and applications, especially running in Kubernetes in the cloud in a cloud-native way.
All right, cool. So, if you look at 2020, what would be the most exciting thing if you look at the Java ecosystem from your perspective?
That's really interesting. Sometimes I'm gonna say GraalVM is really exciting. The reactive things is exciting too. But I think there's this adoption curve, right? And what I'm noticing recently is actually Kubernetes again. Yeah. So for example, we talked about Kubernetes maybe 4 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm increasingly seeing more and more adoption in the businesses. So now there are even more people who are interested and excited about it. And I have seen a lot of Java developers trying to learn about it more than even before. So that is pretty, interesting for me. Yeah.
That is great. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a few quick questions for you. So
Okay.
it's just a quick question, and I want a quick answer from you.
Okay.
Which Java version are you running?
I run Java 8
Why?
because it's so easy and so fast.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What is your favorite language besides Java?
Kotlin.
Kotlin.
Yeah.
Why Kotlin?
Because I think it's really nice syntactically and it works with the JVM ecosystem very, very well. I just love the language a lot. But if I were to pick another one that is not in the JVM, I would say Perl. Yeah, it's the only dynamic language I would write outside of Java.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. This one, monolith or microservice, and why? Because there's a change going on between people going back to monoliths, and
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective on that.
Can I say it depends?
You sound like a consultant now.
I was a consultant in the
Yeah,
past.
fair enough.
But no, seriously, ever since the beginning, my take has always been it's an architecture that you have to choose. You have to solve a problem, right? So actually, I've been in an internal project within Google to help a company migrate their stuff into the cloud, actually, or delivering on the cloud. And one of the first question was monolith or microservice, or do we go to multi-repo or mono-repo, right? Do we have multiple CI/CD pipelines or multiple ones? And there are just pros and cons you have to choose, and it really depends on how many people are in the team, what is the dynamics of the structure, and can you actually support that many services with a small team, or if you are big enough where you have everything established, then maybe you can do that. So my take is always start off simple and make sure you can hedge against the changes that you already know is coming. So for example, if you want to start with monolith, go for that, but make sure you apply the proper designs, the proper architecture, so you can later break out things that doesn't have to be in the same application, and you can take that out and migrate to the microservice instead, right? And similarly, if you do go with microservices, and some people want to start off with a mono repo, right? So you have multiple services in a single repo, and that's going to be a problem in the long run, but maybe you need it right now, so you want to hedge against those changes, so you make sure you apply the proper best practices to design your repository and your application, so you can later break it out as you grow. Yeah.
What is your favorite IDE or code editor?
My favorite IDE currently is IntelliJ.
And which version?
I don't remember the latest one.
The latest one.
Yeah.
But the paid version or the community edition?
Oh, I actually do have the paid version because I'm a Java champion, so I do get a license from them. So that was really nice. Yeah.
Why IntelliJ? Any specifics?
Yeah. So actually, years ago, I was Eclipse. I've been using Eclipse for a very, very long time, and I tried to switch twice. It took me twice to switch for this to stick.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that happened was, unfortunately, during a customer meeting, my Eclipse just crashed for no reason, and that's the time when my customer told me, "Hey, you should try IntelliJ again." I said, "I tried it already." Because I know you got to do it one more time. It takes 2 times to switch. So I did it again, and now I'm with IntelliJ. It's just it's fast, and I like all the auto-completion stuff. And my favorite part is if you paste a Java code into a Kotlin file, you'll rewrite your Java code into Kotlin. And that saved me a lot of time just recently because I had to turn something into Kotlin.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you already did part of you did a keynote today.
Yeah.
But you've got more talks, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us something about your talk at Devnexus?
So my talk this year at Devnexus is actually Maven and surviving dependency hell. So this is a talk where it's about how we, at Google, we were struggling with managing our dependencies with our clone libraries, for example. So people using some of the clone libraries with another clone libraries, when they put them together, they're going to see these weird errors like the runtime exceptions or class not found and stuff like that. And it's really causing people trouble. And I took a look at the whole thing, and I'm like, okay, this is a pretty complex thing to solve. And the session talks a lot about the issues that people generally run into, and the best practices to apply, and some tips and tricks on Maven, so that you can detect some of these issues right up front and early, so that you don't have this during the runtime, which is a lot harder to troubleshoot.
I'm using it.
I think people can learn a lot from what Maven has to offer.
Maven is great, yeah. And there are only a couple of people working on Maven right now.
Yeah, I only think there's a handful of developers.
All right.
Yeah.
Even though I think majority of the Java community uses Maven, so they could really use some help. So as a community thing, I really want to get that message out there and see if people can contribute and just learn more about Maven.
All right. Yeah, thanks for your time, Ray.
All right, thanks for having me. Sure.
I'm here with Justin from Red Hat, and as you know, we are going to ask him basically the same question. So first of all, Justin, for people who don't know you, who are you and what is your day job? What do you do?
Okay. Well, like I said, my name is Justin Lee. I work at Red Hat, and I'm on the Quarkus team. And I kind of bounce around on responsibilities there. I've done work on the Amazon support. I'm currently working on increasing the Kotlin support in Quarkus, and also starting to look more and more at the MongoDB support.
All right, that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to have to trim some of it because it's a little bit too much to bounce between, but yeah.
Okay, cool. If you look at 2020 and what's coming up, what do you think for the Java ecosystem is the most exciting thing from your perspective?
It's hard to pick like one thing, but I was anticipating this question, and the thing that feels to me like we've been promised so many things for so many years in terms of like all the different JEPs that are coming, whether it's value types or this or that or whatever, and it feels like this is the year like all those promises are going to start coming to fruition in one release or another, and it just feels like it's the kind of the fruition of so many years of like promise and effort. And they're all hopefully going to land soon, so I'm kind of excited about that because it'll suddenly open up all sorts of things, especially things like value types and everything. Project Loom, I think, is going to be awesome because it'll be very nice. I'm a big Kotlin guy, so I love coroutines and everything, and I think Loom is going to bring a lot of that sort of functionality and that simplicity to Java development, which will be exciting because Java can use the help of it.
Cool. I think we need to be a little bit closer there so we actually in frame.
Exactly.
Well, it's kind of important if we do a video, right?
Yeah, why not?
So I got a few small questions for you, a few quick questions. First of all, what's your favorite IDE?
IntelliJ.
And why?
It's a long story. Way back in the day, I started off with Vim, and then I found Eclipse. No, I found Together J. Going way back. And then I found Eclipse, and then I discovered IntelliJ, and it's one of those IDEs that just, it fits the way my mind works. Eclipse is fine, and if you use it, that's awesome. But it just never quite, my mental model is always just a little off. But IntelliJ is just one of those things that always kind of fit the way that my mind works. And then I'll like find a new feature kind of tucked off in a corner somewhere, and it's just amazingly well thought out and put together, and everything just kind of fits so cohesively. And so I don't have to think about it so much anymore.
That's important for a tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Which Java version are you running on?
In day job, we're on Java 8 at the moment, primarily because of Girl VM support, which now has Java 11 support, so I think we're going to start migrating towards Java 11. I have a personal project that I work on that I'm working on at 2.0, and that's going to be, I bumped that to Java 11, up from Java 6. Because my thought was, if I'm going to ask my users to upgrade versions, I'd rather upgrade to something. At the time, it was kind of like almost dead, and then Oracle has since announced that they're virtually never going to drop support for Java 8. So I may revisit that particular decision, but Java 11 seems like a decent target.
Okay. So there is a lot of debate going on. So the basic question will be monolith or microservices, and why? Because people, if you asked this question 2 years ago, everybody would say microservices. Now people tend to go back to monoliths, and it's an interesting thing. So I'm curious about your opinion.
I was just talking to someone last night, and his drum that he keeps beating is like, microservice is a pattern, monolith is a pattern. And like with any pattern, you don't just apply it willy-nilly. You know, there are appropriate places for both. And I think the return to monolith is like people figuring out that maybe it's not such a great idea to have 1,500 microservices in production. You look at Istio moving back from a microservice architecture to more a monolith, because I figured out that it's not a great fit for every solution. You know? And so I think people who are looking to microservices or monolith is like the one size fits all, everything has to be this way, is also the wrong approach. You know, I think there are places where microservices are great, and there are places where you need monoliths for various reasons. And I'm hoping that people will start to like actually consider the costs and benefits of both solutions before just deciding to mindlessly apply it, because it's not usually quite as simple as this or that.
Okay, fair point. I think I already know the answer to the next question, but what is your favorite language besides Java? And don't say English.
Oh, okay. Swedish? No.
It's fair enough.
That's fair.
But your favorite programming language
okay.
besides Java?
It's Kotlin, hands down. I'm a Java champion, and I've been doing Java since '96. But Kotlin is the first language that I've played with that's really enticed me away from Java itself. And I played with Scala and Mira back in the day, which is like a statically typed Ruby variant on the JVM. Phantom, you know. So I flirted with a number of different languages, but I'd always come back to Java, and Kotlin is the first one that's really kind of moved me away for significant periods of time.
Good. So, you're already done with your talks today.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, because, well, this will be posted afterwards, what your talk was about?
My talk was about Quarkus, since that's my day job.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, all the videos will be online eventually, but it's a microservice framework, ironic, we like to call it like an opinionated framework. So we make a lot of decisions for you in terms of like which persistence library you use, because as Java developers we're used to choosing, all of our options. But we've chosen Hibernate for persistence and Rest Easy for JAX-RS, and we've kind of picked your CDI implementation. We make all these decisions for you so that at build time and runtime we can make some really interesting changes to the way the application runs to achieve faster startup time and lower memory and lower latency and things like that, which we couldn't do if we were just trying to support like any old library that came in. So we've culled down our options and we've fine-tuned our deployments so we can get like really high-performance microservices.
Great. Well, that was it. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
Great. Hi, we're back again, and I'm here with Grace to ask her some questions about Java and 2020. So, first question, Grace. Tell me something about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you here?
Sure. Okay, so for everyone who doesn't know me, hi. My name is Grace Jansen, and I work in the UK labs for IBM. So I've been working a lot as a dev advocate recently, looking into the reactive stacks and sort of how reactive fits with Java. So today I was giving a presentation here at Devnexus on reactive and how best to configure Kafka when you're building reactive applications. So I also gave a panel yesterday on sort of the future of Java. Something that really interests me is sort of getting younger developers into the JVM ecosystem, especially because I came from a non-technical background, came from a biology degree, a rogue, and now I'm doing computer science and working at IBM.
All right, great. So if we look at 2020, because it's beginning of the year,
Yep.
There's a lot going on within the Java ecosystem. What is for you personally a highlight, or what is the most exciting thing if we look forward to the year for 2020 from your point of view?
I'm really excited now that we've got R2 DVC and we've got things like RSocket, microprofile reactive streams and reactive messaging. I'm super excited to see how reactive technologies takes off in the next year, especially in the Java ecosystem.
Because there's a lot to do in the reactive part of Java.
I think so, yeah. I think there's a lot people can play with, tons of different frameworks. I mean, there's new frameworks popping up all the time for reactive. Things like Vertex, you've got the Lightbend stack, you've got RX Java, Project Reactive from Spring. So there are tons of different frameworks, and I think it's going to be really exciting to see how people utilize that.
Do you personally have a favorite?
I think it depends on what your application is doing and what's best suited for it. So for me, I'm going to take the consultancy answer and go with it depends.
Yeah, sure. I've got a few quick questions or a few small questions. Well, the questions are small, but the answers can be quite large, though. Like, for instance, what Java version are you running?
So I have to run on different Java versions to test some of our applications, especially when we write documentation, for example. So we write the microprofile guides, especially for OpenLiberty. So if you go to openliberty.microprofile/guides, essentially the guide section, you'll find that we basically produce these getting started guides. And because of that, we have to test on multiple versions. So yeah.
So basically, well,
From anything from 8 upwards.
Yeah, 8 and upwards probably,
Exactly.
because well, we've seen that 8 is still the most used version at this
Especially
point.
when you ask the audience in your conference talks, most of the time people are still on 8. So,
Well, luckily, a few of them are already migrating to 11. So,
which is great.
yeah, I think we'll probably be around for
bit
at least a few years.
Yep.
That's the optimistic answer. If you look at your toolset, for instance, what is your favorite IDE or code editor? It can be anything. It can.
So I guess, so before I wrote a recent demo which I showed in my presentation today, which was combining Vertex with Apache Kafka. For that was my first time actually using IntelliJ, which I thought was really cool. Like the plugins were really easy to use, and the Java plugins were super helpful in programming. Before that, though, I was using Visual Studio Code because I was writing a lot of YAML. I was doing things like operators and Helm charts, and for that, I found Visual Studio Code really good. So I think for me, it depends on what I'm doing and the task at hand. But yeah, I really like Visual Studio Code and IntelliJ.
Okay. Yeah, you see that Visual Studio Code is very popular among people that don't do Java. Actually,
Yeah.
if we see the questionnaires that are around and we look at different ecosystems, you see that VS Code is by far the biggest one. But within the Java ecosystem, for some reason, IntelliJ does a very good job.
Yeah.
But it's also of course it's also depending on your person.
Totally, and what you prefer. Right?
Exactly. What have you been used to? So that's why otherwise we know that these questions are biased because well, people are just
People are different.
Yeah, people are different. So if we're looking at programming in general, we're here in the Java ecosystem. But what is your favorite language besides Java?
Okay, so I think everyone feels this way, right? When they start programming, you're always going to have a soft spot for the first language you use, right? So for me, coming from a biology background, my first programming language was Python. Because I was doing a lot of modeling with biological problems and statistics. So for me, Python will always hold a special place in my heart. But there are always downsides, and moving to Java really highlighted those for me. Just the lack of discipline within the language itself meant that quite often the code I was writing wasn't even readable to me. Yeah. So I think I will always love Python, but I will at least now be more aware of best practices. Yeah.
Okay, but I think that Python at least shaped you in a certain way.
Absolutely.
What do you think is for instance, what did Python bring you? Because I talk with other people, they have other languages, and it shaped you in a certain way. What do you think is the one thing in Python that shaped, or the thing in Python that shaped you as a developer or as a programmer?
I think it was, being my first programming language, Python taught me programming logic, essentially. So how to learn to code, not necessarily how to write syntax. So that's probably the major thing it taught me, but it also taught me, before using Python, I hadn't realized the flexibility of each language. The fact that I could use Python to model a biological system, I could also use it to work out a calculation that I could have done on my calculator. It also allowed me to use machine learning, AI. Being able to use a single language and have this syntax that you could then use for a huge volume of tasks across multiple different industries and problems. That was sort of my eye-opening moment of, whoa, this is awesome. And that was a massive game changer in terms of encouraging me to pursue a career in computer science.
Do you also think it's a good language to get started with if you do not know anything about programming?
Yeah, I think the fact that it's more functional than object-orientated, It tends to be used more for that. I think it can be an easier step to get your head around at first. I think it's also because it's got this, I would say, lack of discipline. It can be quite easy to get code out quickly and to sort of see responses, right? You might not be building production-ready code or code that's necessarily best practice, but to get that initial sort of enthusiasm, I think Python's quite a good language for that.
Okay, fair enough. And you see that for some reasons, like for specific reasons, specific languages are designed are used. So
I think that's why we see this trend in a lot of industries where certain languages are used a lot more and is a lot more popular than in others, right?
exactly. This will be more a question on the architectural level. And since you're doing a lot of like reactive and streaming, you're basically in this space as well. If we look at architecture, and then we have this battle between monoliths and microservices. And people like 5 years ago, everybody says we're going to use microservices, and now some people are even turning back on it and say monoliths are the way to go. So basically, the question is monolith or microservices, and why?
So I'm going to take the consultancy answer again and go it depends.
Sure, go ahead.
Because I think it's totally dependent on what your application is. If you've got a really small application, which is, if you broke it down, it would maybe be one or two microservices, you've not got many components to it, and you're not necessarily reaching a large audience, it does not make sense for you to be converting that into microservices. However, if you've got this huge, monstrous application with tons of different components and you're connecting into loads of different third-party services, then in that case, it might be worth going to microservices. For things like resiliency, so for example, what happens when one of those components goes down, you don't want your entire system going down. But if I'm using an application where, so for example, I built like a small application to share photos with my family when I was younger, does it really matter if that goes down?
Sure.
Probably not, right? Because it's just me and my cousins. Whereas if I've got this huge enterprise scale application where I've got a load of users using it from different countries and I've got tons of different components and I'm connecting to loads of different third parties, then it's probably going to be worthwhile me moving to microservices for the resiliency, for the elasticity, all of the reactive, essentially, components. So in that case, as I said, totally depends on your application and what its use cases are.
Well, fair enough. It's just like your IDE, it's probably just
Yeah, totally. And I don't think either one is necessarily like the right one, the only one. I think it's totally dependent on you.
Yeah, there are no silver bullets.
Absolutely.
There are no silver bullets.
No.
Unfortunately, or else if we found out the
Yeah,
silver bullets,
let us know if you found it.
and yeah, let us know. Don't tell anybody.
You
You will get a fair share. Anyway, last thing. Well, maybe not last thing. You already talked that you did quite a few talks over here. Anything you want to highlight on that? So what were your talks? What were they about? And because we are trying to, if the talks are recorded, we're trying to push them in this video as well, or to put the links in so people can see it. So, is there anything you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I guess my talk today, for example, as I mentioned, was about reactive and Kafka, and how do we architect these reactive applications when we're using Kafka? How can we best configure Kafka to be as reactive as possible? So in the talk, I go through the configuration options you need to be considering. I go through the different ways in which Kafka enables the reactive manifesto. If you've never read the reactive manifesto, I massively encourage you to go and read it. There's a whole website dedicated to it where you can go and explore what the reactive manifesto is. It's essentially a specification that is sort of a checklist of things to think about when you're trying to make your application as responsive to events as possible. So, and if you're interested in learning more about reactive systems, I've written a short book. So you can access that at ibm.biz/reactive systems explained, I think, or reactive book. I'll get the link. But yeah, you can visit that online. It's a free ebook. It's only 25 pages long. And yeah, that was sort of my talk today. If you want to see the slides, they'll be up on my slide channel.
Yeah, we will have you shortly on the virtual journal as well.
Yes.
We're already discussing. Actually, we are discussing a date when she and when Grace, together with another friend of us, Kate Stanley, will be on for another talk. So stay tuned on that one. So thank you. I want to thank you for this short interview, and I hope you enjoyed Devnexus.
Yeah, I really have. So thanks for inviting me. Thanks.
Of course, sure. I'm here with Chandra, and just like all the others, we're going to ask Chandra a few questions. So, Chandra, welcome.
Thank you.
First thing, can you explain to viewers who you are and what you do?
Sure, thank you. My name is Chandra. I have been in New York City for a while, and I help run New York JavaSec, one of the largest Java user groups in North America. I currently work at a bank, and I'm a Java champion.
Cool. The New York JavaSec is the largest physical Java user group in the world, right?
It isn't the largest physical group in the world. It does rank among the largest few. I believe London and Brazil, so Java, are bigger. But they're, it does count that New York JavaSec is in this group.
But how many members does that?
So there are two ways to look at these metrics. The way we look at is active registrations. We have 8,000, and active plus inactive is 12,000. So I don't know which one to measure.
No, but so it's a lot.
a sizable number.
It's a lot. Well, great. If you look at 2020, because we're at the start of this year, right? What do you think is the most exciting thing that's coming up in 2020 in the Java ecosystem from your point of view?
That's a great question, and there are so many good answers to this. I mean, I could start by talking about the technology itself, records and sealed data types coming out in Java, starting from the technology aspect of Java to adoption rates, how JDK 11 is being more quickly adopted. There's so many different vendors out there, there's so much of diversity in the market that is enjoyable. And also to add the fact that Java user groups are coming together now, virtual Java, JavaSec, etc. We're coming together, and we had a great session here. I'm very thankful for the session at Devnexus, and I look forward to more interaction and collaboration.
All right. Yep. Interaction, collaboration, diversity, all these things are important, and we need to keep working on them, I believe. I have a few quick questions for you, just personal, like what do you use and how do you look at the world? For instance, what Java version are you using?
That's, without going into too many details about the work part of it, I currently use JDK 13 for most part for my experimentation at home. For stable versions of any software that I need to run, for instance, for my talk here, Java 11. And there are, of course, instances where I still run some code with Java 8.
Fair enough.
So we have a plethora of choices now.
Well, as you look around, a lot of people are still on older versions of Java, and well, Java 8 for a lot of production systems. I think that's a fair choice. That's a fair choice. What is your favorite IDE?
I use IntelliJ. I have a personal license for IntelliJ, and that's what I would claim as my favorite IDE.
And why?
It has been the ease of use aspect for me to use IntelliJ. I was a diehard Eclipse IDE fan until about 2003, 2004. They supported theming, and it was amazing because IntelliJ did not have that. And I have some visual problems which needed me to have a Docker theme. And IntelliJ came out with that support, and ever since then, it's been a smooth ride.
Okay. So there are some debates going on about architecture every once in a while. Microservice is one of them. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you the question, monolith or microservice, and why?
Why not both? So the way I look at this is microservices solve a problem, but we should not have a hammer and nail situation. As soon as we get a hammer, not everything is a nail. So there are situations where monoliths prove extremely useful and versatile, and there are situations where microservices work. If you have architectures where you have a need for lack of a lot of orchestration, either due to lack of resources or people, you might want to switch to using a monolith. And if you have more orchestration capabilities, be it technical or human, then maybe microservices are your answer. Having both choices is equally important, and I cannot weigh one as being better than the other.
It's both a political answer, but also very, very true. I guess. I mean, there's no silver bullet, right?
I use both, and there are situations where, for instance, take large vendor products; they're mostly monoliths still, right? And you cannot get away from that fact. There are products even where you work which would require you to create monoliths, and then there are situations where you're on the cloud, and microservices are the best way to solve the problem. So let's have all the tools in our arsenal and use whatever works best for the situation we are in.
Yeah, sure. What language besides Java do you prefer? And don't tell me English. I get it. English.
I would not have said English. There are two languages that are very close to my heart, next to Java. Three actually. The latest being Kotlin. And of course, I'm a huge fan of Ruby, but my number one language was and will always remain Smalltalk.
Why Smalltalk?
I started my career with Smalltalk. I wish to go back into using Smalltalk again. It is one of the best languages I've worked with.
So what have you learned from Smalltalk? I mean, every language brings you something, right?
Absolutely.
They are just like tools, or
Absolutely.
they have different purposes. What is the thing that you think brought Smalltalk to you? How did it enrich you?
Okay, that's a great question. And so let's start with this. The syntax of Smalltalk fits on a postcard.
Yeah.
It is as simple as that. It is English-like. So although I did not say English, I do mean English. And also, it was very easy to learn object-oriented concepts way back when I was very new in the industry, when I was younger. And Smalltalk helped me understand those concepts real quick. Coming into Java from Smalltalk required us to adapt a few things or forget a few things. And therefore, one of the authors of Eclipse Collections started creating what is called a Smalltalk equivalent in Java for Collections API.
Well, talking about Eclipse Collections, what can you tell me in a nutshell about Eclipse Collections?
That is going to be too hard to do in a nutshell. But
I know, try it.
It is a rich collection API that has separate chains for mutability and immutability. It has eager and lazy evaluations. Java only supports streams which are lazy. Eclipse Collection supports both eager and lazy evaluations. It has synchronized collections. It has the iterable API itself is very rich and on actual collection rather than going off the collection and into a stream in order to perform actions.
Needless to say, Chandra is one of the main contributors on Eclipse Collections.
One of the contributors. And
You're
we're
one of the
always
main.
looking
Don't
for
be too modest. You're one of the main contributors on Eclipse Collection, and you're an advocate for that basically as well.
Absolutely, yes.
You're gonna have a talk today,
Yes, I have
and can you tell me something about your talk? What is your talk about, and what are the takeaways?
Thank you. So the talk here, Don and I are co-presenting, Don Raab and I are co-presenting a talk on comparing JDKs and JVMs. Our strategy is to determine which JDK-JVM combination among a few that we could pick evaluates for a better result based upon the benchmarks that we run. So we run JDK Collections Framework and Eclipse Collections Framework, Serial Parallel, and a few other combinations of their work, and we evaluate which JDKs come out on top.
So basically, the JDK builds from different vendors, or also different versions.
So it's all JDK 11.
Okay.
We use OpenJDK, we use Oracle JDK, and we use Adopt OpenJDK, and different combinations thereof. Plus, we use Growl, EE, and CE in our combination base.
Oh, that sounds quite interesting.
If we had more resources and more time, we would compare even more JDKs. But we started off small because we are trying to prove something. There exists a market or a need to find out how these, JDKs evaluate.
I'm here with Mala from JetBrains, and just like with all the other guests over here, we're going to ask her a few questions about Java and 2020. So, Mala, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. For people who do not know you, can you explain who you are and what is your role? What do you do in your day-to-day business?
Yes, so I work as a developer advocate with JetBrains. So that really means that I help developers use JetBrains tools like IntelliJ IDEA better, because as we know, IntelliJ IDEA has a lot of features, and it's not easy to discover all the features and use them in the best possible manner. And I also connect with the developers, kind of figuring out what is it that they don't like about the tool, and then feed in that feedback to the development team so that we go a full circle, trying to find out what the developers need, what is it that they like, what is it that they don't like, and how to use the tool in the best possible manner so that they become better developers every day.
Okay, so basically you are translating the developer's needs and translating it back into the product.
That's right.
All right, sounds great.
I also write books.
I know. I know you do.
Yeah. So I've been writing books on Java certifications for some time, and I'm updating those books for Java 11 version. So Java 11 certification came out a couple of months back. So I'm updating my books on that one too.
Yeah, check that one out. It's a great one. If we look at 2020. So it's just the beginning of the new year. A lot of exciting things are going on. But what is the most exciting thing for 2020 within the Java ecosystem from your point of view?
Right. So as I said, I work with the IDE, and I work with also to kind of help developers discover what's new in Java, how Java is changing, because as we know, with the 6 months release cadence, we have a lot more to look forward to in each new Java version release, because earlier we were having a longer cadence, which was 3.5 years or more, and people were kind of asking, oh, when are we going to see something new in Java? But now they are saying, oh my god, we have something new in Java again. So that's really exciting, because you get to try out new features as they are in features which are already done. They don't really have to wait for so long to be with the developers so that they can try out. So for me, finding out, discovering what's new with Java, and helping developers to understand how they could use that in their projects, because as we know, a lot of projects, they are still on Java 8. You
Yes.
have that on your survey.
Exactly.
Yes, so people are kind of, they don't know how to move the projects to the later version.
Mhm.
So I also help them to kind of move the projects to the later versions with the use of the IDE, of course.
Mhm.
The IDE has a lot of exciting features which makes the transition simple and easy for them, which they don't know. So it's about discovering what's new with Java, how people could transition to the new versions of Java using IDE, and the other exciting new projects which are ongoing at Oracle, like Valhalla and Loom. Those are my favorite.
Well, I'm personally really looking forward for things like records. And this one thing particular that just
Practice is already out, so
I know, but
version is GA in March,
Yeah.
and its early access version is out, and you can actually use the latest version of IntelliJ IDEA to try out records.
Oh really?
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I didn't know that. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
too preoccupied with other things.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and also the pattern matching that we have in Java
Yeah.
14, we already have the support for it. It's out. You can use it now, today.
Okay, we'll try that out.
Yeah, sure.
So I know that JetBrains has more languages and supports more languages than Java.
Right.
And we ask everybody, what is your favorite language besides Java? And well, some people said English, which is perfectly fine, but I'm aiming at programming languages. So what is your personal favorite programming language, except for Java?
I like Kotlin
Mhm.
because, as I said, I'm looking at the new versions of Java and what's new coming in Java, and I see that a lot of those features are already in Kotlin. So, but I'm not saying I don't like Java. I'm a die-hard fan of Java.
Oh, that's not the meaning
Right.
to say you have to do something else, but
I know.
most people do or work or have worked with more than one language. I had other people
Yeah.
talking about JavaScript or some version of Smalltalk even that people like. So everybody has his own background. That's what I wanted to know. Which version of Java do you work on?
14?
Yeah, should be an
Yeah.
easy question, of course, because you need to support the last ones, of course.
Right.
Well, I already asked everybody things like what is your favorite IDE, but I think I can already guess what your favorite IDE is, right?
Right, and I do have reasons for that.
Tell me.
Because when I use IntelliJ, it kind of lets me in flow, and I get a lot of features to use, but they really don't interrupt my working. And the UI is amazing. The UX is amazing. The experience that I get out of using a lot of features, simple things like refactoring, your Git support, Maven, Cradle, so many of them, and I get to use all of them. And we also have the profiler integration with the since a year now, and the debugger is awesome. So those are so many things in one IDE with the experience that you have, the UI that you have. It really makes your life easy.
I agree, but we see that people. Well, fun fact is, if you look at the world outside of Java, you see that VS Code is very, very, very big.
Right.
But within the Java ecosystem, yeah, well, it's your product. this case?
So we have reasons for people using VS Code and not IntelliJ. The number one is that they haven't tried IntelliJ.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Because we have people, developers who have used VS Code and then they move to IntelliJ, and they are finding it much more better. Am I okay to use names out here?
You can use names. It's all. This is all
Okay.
for the jug. So
Okay.
we're not bound to any company. You can use names.
So we had one person who visited our booth today, and he said he loves the refactoring capabilities that we have in IntelliJ, and he moved from VS Code to IntelliJ, and he was wondering why did he not do that earlier.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an experience.
Yes, and because VS Code is free, so a lot of people tend to move to that space. Of course, we do have a community version which is free, and people are of course free to try it out and see for themselves
Yeah, sure.
the reasons why it's better.
We also ask everybody. There is this debate. I want to say architectural debate about monoliths and microservices, and people tend to go one way or the other, or now go back. So I want to ask you the question, simple question: monolith or microservices, and most important, why do you think?
So first of all, that's not a simple question.
It is not a simple question.
Yes, because whenever you have a new technology coming up, so there's a lot of hype around it. And if Netflix is using microservices, doesn't mean that everyone has to rush and kind of dismantle their monolithics and they have to rush towards using microservices. They had a reason for using microservices. So anyone who's kind of using any new technology, any new tech stack, they need to figure out why they want to move to that tech stack, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and kind of weigh them and then use it. So a monolith would probably work for me, would be better for me if for a certain application, and not if I'm having a certain kind of application, then microservices would be better. So for Netflix, yes, microservices is working much better for them, but that really doesn't mean that everyone has to kind of throw away their monoliths and move to microservices.
That's reasonable. I mean, I think you have to think of why you did it instead of go with the hype, right?
Right.
So can you tell me something about your talk here at Devnexus? We're at Devnexus. There are a lot of great talks, and there were a lot of great workshops over here.
Right.
So tell me something about your talk.
So I spoke about Java certifications because we understand that Java certifications are important. Because I was talking about how Java certification lets a developer identify the topics which are, I consider them as bare essentials to kind of to start working in a programming language, and they also kind of let you take a path which could be followed through those topics. And once you get hang of all these topics, you kind of get to know all the nuts and bolts of the language. And with all that knowledge, when you kind of work with the language, it gets more easier. So you're not kind of learning on the job with all this knowledge, all the learnings. So everyone understands that certifications are important for individuals, for the organizations. But the difficult part is that it's not easy to kind of working on, let's say, preparing for an exam once you start working, because that's difficult.
Yes.
It's like falling in love and staying in love. It's difficult. It should be done, but it's not easy to kind of work on it every day. So my talk was about how to make it fun and how to make it sustainable so that you are kind of able to do that, to walk the path and get your certifications and be a better developer.
And do you think everybody should be certified?
I'm not saying everybody should be certified, but it really helps, because it really helped me when I was out of my college. I was looking for a job, and I was kind of heartbroken to kind of realize that what we were taught in the college had no match with what the industry wanted of me.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wrote my examination, and it really helped me to understand with the kind of questions that the exam has. It really makes you kind of know Java inside out. You just can't read through something and pass the exam. You really have to know things inside out. They would test you in 100 different ways on the same topic. So you know that, yes, this is what I should be knowing. So it was kind of a game changer for me. And I have seen a lot of people who have benefited from the certification. So it's not the piece of paper that you get at the end, it's about the journey. It's about how you learn about the language. I would kind of equate that. How about if you are recommended for going for a robotic surgery? You know that you are going to a surgeon, but the surgeon doesn't have any experience of working with the robotic surgery as it. Would you kind of go to that surgeon?
Probably not. If you know that on foreign, probably not.
Yes, so that's how I equate certifications. So even if you have a college degree, but you are kind of not familiar with the language inside out, then it's difficult to kind of scan a person. If you let's say if you want to recruit a person on a Java project, a crucial Java project on your team, how would you scan the person? You can't ask the person 100 questions in an interview. That would be something insane. So having that is a good thing to have. But of course, you could learn Java in different ways, or for that matter, any programming language in different ways. But if you follow a certain path, that really makes the life of the person working on the project easier, and the organization who are kind of looking for that skill.
Okay.
Very simple.
So think about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to thank you for your time, because I know you have a lot to do today. And well, thank you for taking this short break and having this interview.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's
Yes.
a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, sure. And I'm here together with Mohamed. I can say Mo.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, yeah, perfect. And Mo is a Java champion, originally from Egypt, and we're gonna have a conversation about, well, a few of the questions we already did with other speakers. So let's start with the beginning. Can you please explain to viewers like who you are and what you do in your daily life?
Interesting. My name is Mohamed. I am originally from Egypt, and I moved to Serbia, and I'm living in Serbia now for a while. And I'm doing solution architecture for software industry for companies and a consultancy, writing articles, book based on the community. It's fitting the community, which actually really groundbreaking and best. And the best part that I like that I'm part of this community, meeting nice people like you and the others here at this lovely conference, sharing knowledge, getting new things, get interesting stuff from most of the people from courses, and yes, sharing knowledge. Sharing knowledge.
That's what
is the best win-win relationship that we have, and this open culture, which is I love, really, that we have here.
honestly, it's the vibe here over here is perfect, and the way that people interact with each other, I love it.
Everyone helpful, willing to help, willing to share knowledge, and driving Java forward, because this is my domain expertise, either JDK or Java EE ecosystems, for a long time, and been since like 2009 when I decided to join. Then I was working with AGJack, and then I was on the board, and I joined Jack also at the same time. And then since I moved to Serbia, I'm just supporting people in Egypt to try to run conferences. But it works like this, but we're trying to do something in Serbia, and worldwide, whenever I go to any conference speaking, I'm trying to share to whatever it is. So I feel always that I'm open. I'm not related to them, so whenever I'm living, I should help these people.
I think that is actually the best mindset you can wish for. Looking to the future, looking to 2020, and you're looking to the Java ecosystem. What do you think will be the most exciting thing? What are you looking forward to in 2020 from your perspective?
2020, there is a lot.
There is a lot.
No, for me, there is some areas I like to touch, as technically and business-wise, and planning to see what is my next career in 5 years, because now it's 2020 and I'm close to some ages.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like it in 2020 that we have 25 years of Java, and still #1 language. And I like it also the vibe that we start to move 6 months release cadence, which it start to make Java more innovative. There is a lot of features coming out, catching with other languages. We're trying to make it much way better. But there is only one thing that I don't like until now, which was wrong marketing, to be frankly speaking, that if you would like to move from Java 8 to 9, you have to be Java module based. And this is almost most of the people are asking why you don't migrate to the latest version of Java, or at least the latest Java 11 LTS if you're a big company. No, because we have to convert all our software to module system. Hey guys, who say this? You say this, not as a me, as a community. Or even Oracle was saying this, and it's not cheap and it's not like licensed. No, you don't have to do this. We have to re-marketing that you should move because you will lose the support soon for JDK 8, and also you have to take all the benefits from the new JVM enhancement security, at least, not just even the features. Let's say that we are companies doing microservices and everything, and this is very important, is how your software is running fast and is scalable and running inside containers. How you can run this while your JVM is not aware of the container. Since Java 10 we have this. Most of the people don't know that JDK has a backport to update 208. That yes, they backported this for people running Java 8 on containerization, but nobody understands that there is a lot of problems with it. Unfortunately, it was wrong marketing. Starting from Java 9, you have to turn everything into modules. Be frankly speaking, I will never do microservices and make my microservices as a module-based solution. Why? I'm not going to include microservices A into B to open some features. It's just meant for library, for IDEs, for internal JDK, if you're just trying to do shared libraries and things like GUnit.
Are there any specific new features you're looking forward to in the upcoming JDK versions?
The value types. Yeah. I would love to have it, but we plan to have it like starting from Java 16 and 17. But to be very great feature in JDK.
Well, yeah, but that's something that a lot of people are looking for.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. We've got some short questions on things you use, things you do. For instance, what Java version are you currently working on?
It's very interesting because I said about Java, since I just joined my company DevTech and start to look what the team's doing and working, they were pretty interesting Java 8. Normally, all the base images was based on this. Then we decided, okay guys, as a proof of concept, we are going to run our microservices Spring based on JDK 11 because it's more optimized and fast. And then you don't have even to migrate your code. And by the time I'm going to give you like lecture and things, sharing the knowledge, what's the new feature we have. Until on our IDE we change the source to 11 or even more. So it's like we're developing with 8, but running on production on 11.
Okay, so basically you still keep your language features at 8.
Yes.
But
because of the people have just migration and they used to have this,
but underneath in production,
yes, we run on 11.
You have JDK 11.
Yes, because it's LTS for now, and we are using OpenJDK.
Okay.
So it's free of charge.
Yeah, I get that.
And there is no big difference because this is also people Oracle licensed Java, and so we used Oracle JDK. So if I move to OpenJDK, there will be broken changes. No, we always keep this. Oracle is committed to keep the API and almost language features as it is, the same as OpenJDK, but maybe they will introduce some features that is proprietary, but it will not affect the basic. It's like Java E concept. You build something, it should run the basics. It should run on all the platform application servers. But if you have stuck to proprietary things to get more benefits and performance, it's up to you. So don't worry, you can change, and it's very optimized. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a fork.
Yeah, basically it is. Basically it is. And there are a lot of forks of OpenJDK.
Yeah, there is a lot.
If we're looking to an architectural perspective, you like say a few years ago, everybody was talking about how to migrate to microservices. Now some people are even saying, no, we're migrating back to a monolith. So the basic question is, microservices are monoliths, and why?
It's when we introduce like microservices, it's very good architecture pattern to solve some specific problem, but it doesn't mean that monolith is like we were doing monoliths for a long time. If you think about just composed your monolith, the big one is small monolith things, but just how these things should be cooperated. Distributed systems is always very hard to maintain. And there is a lot of addressing issues. This is why we're trying to solve all the communication problems, all the orchestration between the microservices. We're just trying to find a solution for something. If we have a software that is frequently need to be deployed, fixing, changeable, and all of this, and there's some parts is affecting, and it's dependent, you can start to think about microservices. But what if sometimes you have a very big part of the system which is not touchable because it's stable, it's used, but there is some specific part. You can't just take it. Don't decompose everything, because whenever you decompose, means main services, means more support, maintenance, DevOps work, money, because you are using more infrastructure. So you have to think about the architectures. No, you don't do monoliths because it's bad. It doesn't mean like this. You can think about your monoliths as a modular system that you can develop and how to as internally as architecture. But there is a way when we do microservices and when we can start. What if your business is stable in the pension, for example? You're working for taxi. The changes, you can have a dynamic engine for the changing the law calculations, for example, but it's a tax, it's a pension, it's a system for something that does not change like dynamic business, like banking systems, for example. Sometimes, why you have to build it like microservices? How many frequent changes do you have? So it's all based on the business case. I came from the mind, based on the business case that I have, I'm going to find the relevant architecture for the business case. And to serve my team, you have a consideration of the teams, you have consideration of the money, the cost, and everything else. This you have to consider the architecture. It's always we trying to get behind the trend. If you have a trend, use this. If you have a software, use this. But sometimes this is the case in our software when we took this big train industry in UK. It's actually we inherited the project from company that was like they obsessed by the software. They used a lot of tools, great tools, but it's not meant to be used to solve all the problem. Then they start to tweak the business to work on that tools. Then they bankrupt because they were not able to deliver and used a lot of infrastructure, a lot of domains on AWS money. Then they don't have any more money to continue, and they bankrupt and they inherit this. They start to cut down on things based on the business cases. And one example like this. Yes.
So basically, you would say it depends on your business case if you need to go to microservice, or that a monolith might be better.
It's not a bad way. I always have something. I'm sorry to say this. If you have a monolith and you have some, it's like you decomposed your shit to smaller shits. That's it, and you like this shit to communicate with.
Yeah. Basically, it is what it is. Every programmer comes from a different background, and much programmers do have worked in other languages as well. So what we want to know is, what is your favorite programming language besides Java?
I was like, when I was in the college, I learned C++, I learned BASIC, then by chance, definitely I touched JavaScript. Mm-hmm. It's a freedom, JavaScript is a freedom. The frameworks that we use. So I never touched a different language. I'm obsessed with Java. I love Java. So when I start to learn like C# or something, and some other languages, I don't feel that openness with them. I like that the rules, statically typed, and then I don't know. This is my I love Java. I didn't find a way also to learn another language. It's a benefit and it's drawback, because whenever you have languages, you can do whatever it is. I learned Bash, this for automation, some stuff, but I start to try to learn Python to do some scripting, then we have to customize Java, how to use it. Then we have features like shebang. Okay, I can write now my shell scripting in Java.
Exactly.
I'm lazy guy, so I'm trying to support Java to find everything that I can do with that language.
So you basically want to you're using Java. You're just molding Java into the way that you
Whenever
did
I try that, like I have everything. The same like when I was like Java EE basic, I have everything that Java EE do. Why I have to learn Spring? But my teams, when I joined different company, when I came to Europe, most of the people know Spring. I start to learn Spring. It's pretty easy. It's pretty productive. It has an ecosystem, but it's almost the same. It was very easy because I know Java EE for a long time. It was my life. So, but it's a framework. Finally, it's a framework. It's nice to know, nice to have. But for language, it's like.
Okay, but one other question about tooling. What is your favorite IDE or code editor?
Favorite IDE nowadays based on IntelliJ.
Okay.
Yeah, because many reasons. We have the support from JetBrains for Java Champion, but not because of this. Most of the people using it. It's reliable tool. It has a lot of tremendous plugins that you can use, and support for every tool that you can use, like Kubernetes, Spring, definitely, Java, even any kind of things that you'd like to connect or manage, you have a plugin for that. And the second thing that I'm doing mobile development. So since also Android start to rely on IntelliJ and left Eclipse, so you have one ID continue the enterprise edition, that you have JavaScript, you have everything. So if you do front-end engineering, you do back-end engineering, you do mobile, it's one tool, everything. It's running. NetBeans one of my favorite, but the delays that happens for migration, getting the new feature of things, it's one of the best ideas that I used before, but now I rely more because even my team's using the community edition, so when you explain something, plugins or some things, it's very easy to share it with the team.
Okay, last question. You did a talk over here.
Yeah, 2 talks.
You did 2
I'm
talks.
done. Yeah.
So, luckily. So tell me something about your talks. Tell us something about what you talked about, and just short, because we will connect when the videos come out. We will connect it into the comments of the YouTube channel, so you can actually see the talks. But in a nutshell, what did you talk about?
You have attended one, and thank you for this. And I like to feedback. I was speaking at 2 talks. It's about GDK, but it came from perspective that I have seen my team and consultancy team that I consult different companies misusing some stuff, and the other thing that question based on the community, the same like I told you, people are afraid to migrate because some stuff so I have to show them what is the features that we have since Java 9 until 14 that they're gonna miss, and also how they can migrate easily without worrying about breaking chain, turn it into modules, how to think about these kind of things. It was like it's a journey to explore all the features from Java 9 to 14, or it will be next 15. Or the most important, not all the features.
Sure, that's not
but we
possible.
can use it. Yes, definitely. I would like to have like 3 hours.
You can do a full day talk on that.
The other one, it was very interesting because it's specific optional class, and optional class is one of the class that is obsessively used by the developers everywhere, but in wrong way. It's always in wrong way. You can find people using as like in method arguments to provide null, to prevent null, or like data type or something. Like guys, it's not intended to be used like this. Then I form like I get from the code snippets like, okay, this is done wrongly and it should be done like this. It's like how it should be done and avoid this. And I tried also to address all the functions that the class had in order to show you what is the scenarios that you can do in this kind of correct way of calling optional and when to use it. It's like avoid anti-patterns, how to prevent really null pointer exception, because people asking me, we use optional and we get null pointer exception.
Sure, it's an object, so you can assign an optional to null.
For example, it's not intended to be like this. It's a container, so it should be an empty at least.
Yeah, sure, but
this is one rule. For example, you find it always assigned to null, then I start to use
yep,
pointer. But anyway, It will be in my profile, so you can check it, comment it, contact me for anything for this. And also, I would like just to mention that I start even to create the rules on SonarQube to catch such anti-patterns. And if it's really catches all these things, I will share it with many people so they can make use of it in their quality analysis or something.
That sounds great.
This is what all about my talks.
Okay.
That I finished yesterday.
Cool. Thank you for this interview.
No,
Interviews for the virtual jug. So Venkat, welcome.
Thanks, guys.
So for people who do not know you, which I doubt there are people that do not know you, can you please introduce yourself, what you do, and who you are, basically?
Venkat Subramaniam, programmer. I write books, I give talks, I do consulting, training, mentoring, and then in the free time, I like to hike mountains.
Like mountains. That's amazing. So we got a couple of questions for you that we basically ask everybody. What do you think is the most exciting thing for 2020 if you look at the Java ecosystem from your perspective?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I'm absolutely excited at where Java is heading. And the ability to do pattern matching, the ability to do code where it's getting concise, it's getting more fluent. And Java is a language that's learning a great deal from a lot of other languages and bringing what's feasible and useful for Java developers. So I'm absolutely excited. Of course, if you really want to answer, I'm absolutely led by local variable type inference. Just kidding. but there's so many of them.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a couple of quick questions for you. What Java version are you running now?
Oh my gosh, I'm running 13.
13.
Yes.
And I know you program in a lot of languages, but what is your favorite language besides Java?
English.
Fair enough. Your favorite programming language besides Java?
You know what? The one I use that minute is my favorite, and I mean this actually because I program in 15 different languages, and I really work hard not to develop a favorite. And the reason is, to me, programming languages are tools. It's like asking, do you like a hammer better than a screwdriver? And to me, programming languages are exactly that, they're tools. I like different aspects of different languages. There's an aspect of one language I like and an aspect of another language I like. But I like to learn these languages because when I go back and program in the language I program in, I program a little different. It is how it influences the design and the concepts that's really good. So I really honestly don't develop a favorite. I may have a few things that I don't like, but the favorites are pretty broad.
Let's not get into the things you don't like. That's fair enough. I mean, these things are tools, and you need to use the tool in the right way for the right purpose, right? There is a discussion going on between monoliths and microservices, and people going back to monoliths. What's your view on it? So monolith or microservices, and more important, why?
Yeah, so I would say it's important to solve real problems. People get infatuated with technology, and we end up complicating things more than it should. And so we need to really ask the question, what is the problem we are really trying to solve? And one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to architecture and developing software is not one solution fits everybody. If you are a startup, if you don't have a clue whether you can even survive, if you don't even know what you're building, does it really make sense to think about microservices? No. Get something up and running, get it out of the door. You know what? I'm in favor of revenue. Because the minute you make money, you can do a lot of things. When you don't make money as a business, there's nothing you can do about it. So get the code out into the hands of the users, and if it doesn't really take traction, don't really waste your time and money doing it. I would rather fail with $50,000 than fail with $350,000. And once it takes off, when people begin to use it, that's when you get really a good understanding of what your scale is, what your scope is. Then we can evaluate where it makes sense to use microservices, where it makes sense to use monoliths. Now, obviously, you could say, what if you're an enterprise? What if you're a bank? What if you're an insurance company? What if you're a very established business? Then I would again ask the question,
in what is your application doing. If your application requires that scale, not everything you do in a large enterprise requires that scale. Even within organizations where scale is important, not everything we do requires that scale. So I would say these are tools. Use the tool for the right job to deliver the results the customer wants. So I'm happy building monoliths where that makes sense. I'm happy building microservices where it makes sense. But the key thing is to go from a monolith to microservices. If we suck at developing a monolith, we're going to suck more developing a microservice as well. So the scale is different. So it's a lot more difficult to do it really well as well. And we need to sit in other practices to build that too.
Another thing is, again, a favorite, and we're talking about tooling. What is your favorite code editor or IDE?
Oh gosh, VI.
Okay, you cannot consider it an IDE. You can't consider it a code editor.
No, it's an editor.
It's an editor.
I don't use IDEs much anymore, honestly. I spend most of my time on editors these days. I do VI, I use Xmate. I use old editors. And I've got a lot of scripts I've written over the years to optimize things for my moves around. So I can be as fast as I want to in these things. And my need for editors is very little. I program quite a lot between multiple different languages. As I switch between dynamic type languages and static type languages, I'm just at home with my editors. So I actually use very little of IDEs these days.
And what do you use when you demo code?
TextMate mostly.
TextMate.
Yeah.
Because it's quite neat. If you do it in inline or with the hoovering over, you see the results of that.
It is. And I've kind of, again, a little bit of tooling that I've developed over the years. It works. And again, I kind of focus on, this is kind of an interesting question to talk about, right? Somebody recently asked me, what's the set of tools you use for what you do? And I said, this is what I use. And they said, well, that's not fashionable. And I said, but my goal is not to be fashionable. My goal is to deliver results to my customers. I want to create software that works. And I care about my user experience. My users are like, hey, I'm happy with this product. It doesn't have to depend what I use. And if I'm productive with what works really well, it kind of comes back to the same point about Java as well, right? Java is not fashionable, but hey, if that works to get your work done, why not?
Well, not fashionable. We can debate about that for the rest of the day.
Yes.
Because I think it's still fashionable, personally. We are here at Devnexus, and you probably have a ton of talks. Can you tell something
I
about
got only
that?
2 talks this time.
Only two?
Yeah,
Only two?
I'm happy for the 2 talks.
All
This is
right.
great.
So what talk do you have? What's it? What is it?
The one thing is about collectors. It's just that one usability class in the JDK. I want to spend an hour talking about it. Collectors are fascinating. I think it's underutilized. So I want to spend an hour on talking about collectors and how beautiful they are and how they are really helping us to perform reduce operations. And then the next talk is on, I titled it, Just Ain't Your Parents' Java. So I want to talk about where Java has been heading for the past few years and where Java is heading as we move into the next few versions.
All right. Seems exciting. So thank you for being here, and thank you for doing this interview. And have a lot of fun. That's the most important.
You too.